Welcome to the Human Design and Astro Club podcast. And this is a series episode. Okay, so I have no idea when these episodes, in what order they're being put out. But just so you know, this episode is a little different though, because you're part of the series, but you're the second projector that I'm having on here because, and I feel like we should talk about this too, that is the majority of the people that actually filled out that form were projectors. A lot of projectors. That's why I was like, I'm having a hard time choosing a projector. And I love you so much because I've been working with you since literally the beginning. You're one of my OGs. And so when I saw your name on that list, I'm like, okay, you're going to come on this episode and we're going to talk about being a projector. This is a projector episode, guys, on living as your human design type, but we're going to combine variables with this because I have exclusively worked with Julie, who I will introduce her full energy and essence in a second. I've been working with Julie with the variables for a while now. And so I really thought, because we're both desire motivation, that this would be a great conversation for us to have. So let me introduce first, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to Julie. So we're introducing Julie Regias 24 self-projected. That's always a hard mouthful. Self-projected projector, who is a holistic practitioner. She does inner child healing and shadow work, and she combines it all together with human design. And I think it's magic. I know, Julie, you're also a Scorpio. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to you. Share a little bit about yourself and also share your big three, because we obviously also do astrology on here.
Yes. Okay. Hi, my name is Julie. I love your energy, and I love that we found each other a few years ago on Clubhouse, and it's just been amazing following you on your journey, and also
Mm.
being able to work with you with the variables. That has been so much fun. And I remember the minute I hopped on that Clubhouse room, the first time you were like, "Oh my God, you're Scorpio projector," and you just saw me. Like, you
Mm.
saw me. And when I said my big three, you're like, you just got me without, like, energetically, without me saying much.
Oh.
I and I just appreciate that, because as a projector, being seen is
Mm.
huge. And I find sometimes, even as self-projected, that I can get misunderstood a lot.
Oh yeah.
And big time, because people don't understand, like, because it's like we're a small population.
Well,
And
you're like 3%, I think, of the
yeah,
projectors or some small number like that to be
yeah,
self-projected. That's also why I wanted you to come on here, because I'm like, nobody knows about self-projected projectors.
no,
Nobody
no,
knows. Like, even I feel like more even though mental projectors are also a small group,
yeah,
they get talked about, I think, a little bit more than the self-projected people. So that's why I was like, we need to have a self-projected projector on here.
yeah. And it's just like, I've worked with many mentors and coaches, and sometimes, like, I had to, like, end the relationship
Oh.
because they're talking the entire time. And I'm like, I'm self-projected. I
Oh.
need you to ask me questions so I
Oh.
can talk and talk and talk and talk, and that's how I figure shit out. But yeah, so to kind of bring it back, I my big threes are Aries rising, Libra moon, and then, yeah, Scorpio sun. So yes, very fiery, but my Libra moon balances me out,
I
and
was about
thank
to
God
say.
for that. Thank God
It
for that.
it
That's
really does, though. I forgot that you were a Libra moon, because it makes more sense, because you have this, like, chill, loving vibe to you, but
yeah.
you have this intensity to you, between the Aries and the Scorpio, because they like, I mean, Scorpio is like fire water, you know?
Well, but then even if you look at my Pluto's in Scorpio, my Mars is
Mm,
also in Aries, and then my
mm,
Venus is in
mm,
Libra.
mm.
So
Wow,
it
that's harmonious there.
very
That's nice.
harmonious. Yeah. So it's just like I got these big power, but the Libra just goes, ah.
Yeah,
eh,
settle. Yeah,
Yeah.
find the
It's a
balance.
yeah, which is really nice. It's really nice, because I think that if I didn't have that Libra moon, like, I'd be like,
Oh, no, you would be a wild child, man.
yeah.
But you
Um,
still are, but a
maybe a
more
little bit.
but a little more subdued.
Yes, yes, exactly. But yeah, so about me, I run my own business, and which there is a lot to be said about my journey around that, and I'm sure we'll tap into it because the variables are intertwined with it. And yeah, holistic, as you said, holistic practitioner, and I combine all these in-depth elements of inner child healing shadow work. But I use human design because human design gives me the signposts of someone, which
Yeah.
is amazing. And
Yeah.
it's just the biggest like woo,
It makes it
aha moment.
easier. It makes
Yes,
it easier. Even, like, I know therapists now that are using human design in
that's
their
amazing.
session, and because it really is the fast track to unblocking, uncovering, deconditioning. Anything you wanna do, I tell people, it's there. Now, the person that's delivering the information, I actually had this conversation with somebody else recently. The person that's delivering this information, that's the important key factor, because
Yeah,
not one, human design isn't for everybody. Could it be? I believe it could, but I think it depends on the person that's delivering the information, because we're not meant, we don't resonate. You learn with the variables. We do not resonate with everybody. Like
no,
our energy, our own frequency, it's almost like our frequency is
yeah,
attuned to a certain dial, which is going to be your cognition,
yeah,
right? Because that's going to tune the radio for you. And so what happens is energy comes in, those little
yeah,
those little neutrinos, those little subatomic
yeah,
particles with all this data, we breathe it in, and then whatever our tone is, which is connected to our cognition, people are like, what in the world is this woman talking about? But just keep listening. You'll understand as we go through. But so energy comes in, our inner being, our brain actually has a vibration that is picking up that frequency. So the energy comes in, it goes whoosh, and it like vibrates. If it's being captured correctly, if you're paying attention, if your body is aware, it will capture that frequency, bounce off that tone, and then you'll have like this almost like response to it. Or for the other types, they'll have their way of it, and then it exits, and then it's able to then experience everything for what it actually is, because then you actually capture the essence of something. But the only way to truly do that is for the body and the mind to be aware of what it's taking in.
yeah, yeah. And I love that you like brought that in because like I know some of the big names in human design world I don't follow on Instagram. I
Mm.
don't resonate.
Mm.
And it's there's nothing wrong with them or how they teach it. It's just like
It's not, you can't receive
it's
it.
I can't receive it. And it's like it's funny because it is the ones with usually the bigger following and the
That's
bigger names
funny.
and it's nothing to do with that. Like yeah, I've seen their posts and I was like, yeah, like what they're saying is good. It's it but to like yeah, I don't know what it is. Like it's just there's some that I'm just like I'm just turned off by it. And it's
Mm.
I wouldn't invest in them. I wouldn't buy their courses or anything.
Yeah.
I just but then I also I don't know if it's like my line 2 because my line 2 the way I've learned human design and continue to learn, learning never doesn't end in it, but
No.
it's such a different approach in my
Mm.
line 2. It's very much like self-taught combination with like working with you, for example, like very like that one-on-one, but
Mhm.
then also the self-taught of like going to like the various human design books I have and just reading up what I need to
Yeah.
know in that moment and then move on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's a very like harmonious, like if you want to just say like, when they say line 2, you don't necessarily always need a certification to say that you have a gift in something.
Yeah.
That's for me what
That's
human
where
design
that's the
is.
part of the line too that I'm very jealous of.
Yeah, especially your line 1.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta do all the investigative work over here. I'm doing the heavy lifting for the second lines to then be able to benefit off of. It's like really also just being a 1-3. I feel like the 1-3s are doing a lot of the heavy lifting
Yes.
for a lot
Yes. Yeah.
a lot of the other lines or profiles, and that's fine. I really I look at my designs sometimes, and I don't know how you feel when you look at yours, because I think we all kind of feel similarly when we look at our own designs. We're like, "What the fuck was I thinking?" Um, was I drunk when I when I chose this just to come in as?
Oh man, for
Uh,
me, it's a 2-4 pendulum
yeah, because it's
when
very
it comes.
contradictory.
Oh, but like but combine that with my gates that are repetitive patterns. And
Mm,
I'm like, come on, this pattern
I
again.
know,
I
we've
thought
talked
I
about
learned
that.
it. I thought I learned this lesson and it's happening again. And it's just from like initially it was a pattern of like dating, like, like dating life. And it was just these like I would meet someone, it
Oh,
would be like 1 month. And it was the same thing. It always ended a month.
oh.
And that was getting so frustrating. I was just like, oh, and then finally I remember I screamed to universe. I'm like, I've done so much healing in this. I'm done. I'm done.
Yes!
I'm done. So, and then yeah, the recent one was like more about money, but I feel like I'm coming to the end of that. I feel like it's like I think
Well,
it's done.
everything for you is about money. We've talked about that with your survival view.
Oh my God, yes. And that's oh yeah, because we there was something I wanted to bring up about my survival view.
Okay.
And so
Yeah, okay. First,
and
let's explain
let's
what
go.
that is. So
Yes,
that's
yes.
for the listeners that are like, what are you talking about? Okay, so this conversation is going to be heavy into the variables. If you don't know what variables are, I'm gonna let you know. I have a plethora
Yes.
of resources. It's getting ridiculous at this point. Free and paid, okay? There might also be a spot or so left in color code variables intensive for the fall round. October 13th is when we start. Go to the show notes down below to check that out and see if there's any spots left available if you would like. If not, there's a playlist on the YouTube channel with a bunch of free episodes that you can check out on the variables, or go to humandesignastro.com. There's a section that is exclusively on variable education. It's educational content. So just go over to that tab and you'll be able to find that stuff out too. So let's imagine for a second the body graph. Okay. I'm not going to pull one up because I just honestly don't have the energy to do that right now. I'm like half in education and half letting you I want you to be able to have the mic. So, but I want everybody to imagine the body graph for a second. We all know those arrows that are up at the top of the graph, right? Or you've seen them most likely. And so, what we're focusing on right now in this conversation that we're about to have, we're talking about the bottom right arrow. Okay. That's actually when the body, okay, your unconscious, everything in red, moves over to the mind. That's the first time that the mind actually gets to see. It's called your view or perspective. Okay. And so, it's the way in which you see the world, the lens that you wear, almost like your little glasses. We all have certain glasses that we wear. And that is the biggest, I would say, uh, uh, complication for most people, confusion for most people is view. Every intensive member, almost, I should say, almost every intensive member, I shouldn't speak for every single person, but almost every intensive member for my last 3 rounds, when we got to view, that's when everybody got confused. Or that's when I know in our session we had that. So
Yeah.
it's literally, and for like, that is the most confusing part of human design for me. I've got you. Okay. Because I have cracked the code with that because of Tikkun. I know we've talked about Tikkun, which is your correction through Kabbalah.
Yes.
You don't know I have a Kabbalistic background, and that is connected to your nodes. Actually, Julie, have we read yours? Have we
Have
read
I?
yours? I don't, I
No.
feel like we might have touched on it in one of the sessions, but I can't
Mhm.
remember. I feel like I don't know. I feel like being generous right now. And
Okay.
also for anybody out there that might have the same nodes as you. I'm about to pull up what are your nodes? I'm about to go pull up
They're I know
your
they're in the head. They're the
no,
gates in the
but
head.
no, I mean the
60.
astrology.
Oh, my astrology. North node is Pisces and South node is Virgo, which
We're
Oh,
going into your nodal return.
I know,
Dude,
but
okay, we're gonna have
this
to have
is
a session on
huge.
that.
This is huge because it has to do what I want to say. It has to
Okay,
do with the
this is what
survival.
I'm feeling called to read. Okay, hold on a
Okay,
second. Hold on a second.
I
Hold
love this.
on a second. Okay, let me just pull this up because I'm left dominant and I in a generator and I cannot do two things at once. Yeah. So you have Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node,
And
which
then the other thing is my Lilith is also in Virgo.
Yeah, I saw something. That's a whole other conversation that we should probably have. I saw something with my Lilith that literally changed my entire perspective.
Same here, and that it has to do with what has happened in the past, like basically 6 months, and what I how I'm viewing human design, viewing
Wow.
the human design experiment, and everything. So I have my 2 cents. I have my 2 cents to say.
Okay. Hold
My
on.
defined throat is like I
I
got
want
it.
to,
I got
yeah, I want to hear your thing on survival and then also your notes. So hold on, let me pull up before I let you share that part. Let me just pull up what I'm going to read after that.
yeah.
Okay. So let me just make sure cuz I'm looking at the right thing here. So I want you to let's talk about for a quick second what survival view is so that when people understand what you're about to say, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So, as I said, your view is connected to the way you see the world, your lens, your unique perspective. Okay. And so it's actually through your correct environment that you're going to reach and connect to the right people that will then give you the right perspective so that you can see clearly. And so we have our true view and then we have our transferred view. So
Yeah.
your true view is survival. Your transferred view is wanting, right? So your true view of survival, it's a first color. So that means that it's connected to the first line, right? So the foundation of the first line is the foundation. For you, you're looking to see where the foundation actually is. What is safe? Safety is key for survival people. What is the safest route that your mind can see to actually take? What is it actually going to take to survive? What is going to actually kill me? Or even for the mind, because figuratively too, right? What is going to destroy me in some way? And what is going to actually save me? What is going to feel safest? Okay, where am I going to be able to survive?
Yep.
So at like our core. And then transference for you means the mind gets distorted, everything gets foggy. You can't see I say you can't see your way out of a paper bag. Okay. Like just like you can't see it. Where's the opening? You're never going to find it. Right. And so for you, then we reach the upper triagram. And that's wanting things or feeling the need of something before you have the proper foundation to stand on. So tell me, because I feel like this is juicy. So I wanted to
This
just
is juicy.
okay. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready. So go ahead. I'm passing the mic to you. I really want to know what you're about to say.
Okay. Oh my God. There's like I feel like where am I going to start? So it this is like everything that I'm going to say now. It's all like I learned it all through hindsight because when I first learned about the view, I was confused as fuck.
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
was just like,
As everybody.
what is this? But now I get it. I get it. And I think there was one session where we had where like me and you were like, when you're second guessing or you're trying to overthink too much of like what you want,
Mhm.
then you're in transference. Whereas like survival, it's very instantaneous.
Yep.
But at the same time, it has to like I as you said, you have to have the foundations in place. And I feel in my journey of learning about human design and what it means to be a projector and what it means to, not work as much, rest in between. Initially, like I had this idea that I needed to go to the extreme,
Mm.
that I needed to just drop it all and focus on my business and quit everything, which I've done, but it wasn't sustainable for my nervous system, and it was not
Mhm.
sustainable for my survival too because I didn't have the foundations that I needed in place. And during those times, I was also in the wrong environment because where
Mhm.
I was living for 2 years while I went and I jumped all in, my environment is market
Mhm.
internal, but my
Mhm.
transference is narrow
Yeah.
valleys.
Yeah. Yes.
And so in that those 2 years I was living in homes, and this was what the universe was bringing to me, was homes that were very narrow and small
Mm.
spaces. So like a mobile home that was long and narrow,
Oh, that is a very
a
big
tiny
valley.
shipment container home,
Oh.
a small studio.
Mm.
And so those are some of the examples. And I think
Mm.
that it was in those 2 years for me to be in my transference environment, it was to do deep inner healing. Like I did the deepest shadow work I've done. And it brought me to where I'm at today. So there was a reason, and that is my journey with
And can we
shadow
touch on
work.
that for a second? Because, people
Yeah.
are probably like, "What are you talking about transferred environment?" So, that's a thing. It's
Yeah.
not something that is regularly talked about. I actually figured it out before I even heard one person speak about it. I was, playing around with genetic matrix, and as I tell you guys all the time, check out genetic matrix, especially for learning the variables because their interactive tool is really helpful for getting the big picture. When you just click on the variable, I saw it said transferred environment for me was shores. I was like, excuse me? I like all of a sudden I just had this flashback. I had an entire flashback of my entire life living in South Florida and always every single time that I would feel heavy in my body, like my mind running, trying to escape, I would escape to either a body of water. I would go to the beach. My mom is actually Shore's environment and she would we'd always lived on the back of either like a canal or like some sort of lake or whatever. And so I would go and sit back there and or I would go for a drive because that's also a window, which is also very shores. And so I would do one of those three things and I would just cry and cry and cry and cry. And I realized, holy shit, we could use this space to empty out. We could use this space to allow the mind to run so that we can see where our challenges are. We can see where we're stuck. And so when I told you this, you had all these aha moments of, oh my God, I'm in this space now and I'm doing all this heavy shadow work, which is like so Scorpio in general, and like you're called to that, but like you actually created the container, like the actual container for you to be able to have that kind of focus. And you're a focused body, your left body. So it allowed the body to see what's blocking me right now. If you didn't have that awareness, though, it would eat you alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny, like on the day to day, like eh, now in normal life, for me, it is my car, the
Mm.
transference. It is my car,
Oh.
saunas.
Mm.
I
Mm.
love going into saunas to like just release, but then also reflect. So
Yes,
so it's interesting, and I utilize it, and I say I'm like, oh my god, like the transference environment is key
it
for
is.
shadow work. It's key because it's just you're in a different setting, and it's just something with that environment just
You can
clicks.
feel the stuckness. So
Yeah,
why not, if you're feeling the stuckness, watch it. Watch what
exactly.
it's trying to tell you something. It's
Yeah,
trying to give you a message, and that's why I created the whole system around it with the environment variable. Just so you know, I also have the environment variable as a self-paced class that you can pick up at humandesignastro.com. If you're not gonna join the intensive, that's the class that I would go get because I'm about to redo it to make it even I have so much more information to give now than the first time that I put that out, but it gives you a breakdown of how to use your transferred environment. It's real. And then there's also, I don't think we have actually fully touched on this because it's something that I feel like I started touching on in my intensive is your transferred determination.
Mm. Well, I don't think we have touched on that.
'Cause that I
That
actually
could
I
be,
figured out something in the last round because these guys are teaching me too. I
yeah.
figured out something in the last round that was, an aha moment for how I could use my transfer determination because, I'm strategic, so and power view, so I'm in desire. So I'm gonna find every possible way to use and leverage something to my advantage. So I realized with my transfer determination because it's consecutive. Okay. And so for you, it's alternating
Hmm.
nervous touch. So
Okay.
yours is alternating.
I
Mine
need to
is yep.
look into
Yeah,
that.
I'm about to give you something to deep dive into. Mine is consecutive. And so when I first saw that, I was like, interesting. Cause then I had another flashback, right? Cause then I had another flashback and I was like,
Flashback.
I always this human design just gives me so many epiphanies, and you have to go backwards to go forwards. That's something that I've learned.
Always.
So I realized after I was like, okay, consecutive transference. I'm like, huh. I'm like, every time I am feeling outside of myself, I will go get some sort of consecutive food. I will go get, these days it's a little bit healthier. I'll get like a handful of nuts or something.
Mhm.
And I'll actually stand in front of my window in my kitchen. There's a little shore in my kitchen, and I'll stand in front of that and I'll pop them in one by one. And the mind is running, 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 very foggy running. And it's actually our transfer determination that we're seeking um, to numb out from. If you're not
Mhm.
paying attention to what is happening as you're doing this, the mind is trying to just veg out. The body wants to just escape to something whenever you're on the transferred body side. The
Mm.
determination and the environment are trying to escape something. I noticed I'll veg out with consecutive. When I was younger, it was all garbage food. Okay. When I was a kid, I would get a bag of cheese balls and I would sit in my room, watch something, crying, popping in these cheese balls one by one. And before I knew it, the bag was gone. And it really created, honestly, an eating disorder for me.
Yeah.
But then I realized, okay, because I'm like, no, no, no. We're gonna transmute this shit. I'm kitchens, I'm power view, I'm desire, third color, mutation. Okay. I'm also third body, third line body. So I'm like, we're gonna transmute this shit. And I was like, you know what? You're gonna watch yourself when you go over to the pantry, you pick up those bag of nuts, and you walk over to your little shore and you start popping them in. And you're gonna listen to what the mind is telling you because
Mhm.
that is your darkest secrets that are coming forward that if you weren't paying attention, they would take you under and you would continue on this toxic path of doing stuff like that. But then I realized something else. I could use it. I actually feel comfort when I wear consecutive clothes. I've told you, we wear our determination, like you guys probably see me in this um, black sweatshirt a lot of times on this podcast because it gives me great comfort to wear it without thinking about it. We're not thinking about it when we're picking up our transferred body things. And so I actually started buying a lot of like very what looks like consecutive clothing to me. I'll find a t-shirt that I feel connected to the calm determination where it doesn't feel restrictive. I feel free in it, but then I'll buy it in every color.
Mm.
And that's where the consecutive comes in. And I
Interesting.
realized that you can actually combine it. So that's something that and then I can just like wake up, I put on my favorite, also very sacral. I feel good wearing it. I feel lit up by it. I can put on my favorite t-shirt, but now I have it in every color. So
Mm.
yeah, so that's a whole other conversation, and maybe
Yeah.
a
Oh
different
my
session
god.
just on that because that can change your life because now I'm using it. Because then I'm not thinking about I'm not thinking about the outfits that I'm choosing. I'm not thinking about the clothes that I like because I'm buying a lot of the same things, just in different colors because it brings me comfort.
Mm.
So there's some sort of comfort on the transferred body side that if you had awareness around it, you actually could use it together with your true.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. I definitely need to like kind of go and sit with it in my own and kind of like
Yeah,
really look
see
into.
how it comes into because it's all there's so obviously so much nuance into this, and I think that's why a lot of people when it comes to the variables, it's very complicated and challenging for them because your version of how that's going to show up from the foundational and source information might look a little different
Yeah.
than whatever the original is. I think it's important to hear that, but then it's important to then go backwards, think about how has this been used for me in the past? Is there a different way that I approach this? And then see, can I experiment with it and see what act like with awareness? Do it now with awareness and see what actually transpires because that might also be very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, and this is why, like, bringing back to what I want to say is that this
Yeah.
is why it is so important to dive into the variables, but then also to like, I find the variables combine that with strategy and type and authority is such a good balance because yes, the centers and the gates give you a lot of powerful information as well, but there is a little bit different in the variables that you're like, oh, wait a second, life isn't like life isn't linear and human design experiment is also not linear.
Oh yeah.
And I think that this is something that does need to be talked about, especially because if I and I know everybody's on, I'm going to just say this, like my
Mhm.
Libra moon is coming in.
It's okay.
um but I know like everybody's on their own journey with human design. Everybody who teaches human design, like, props to you, like, share what you want to share, like nothing wrong with that, but I'm gonna just kind of go in a little bit and say this, it's not linear. And especially when for the non-sacrals, when we're being told that we need to like completely change our life
Mm,
based on the fact that we're non-sacral,
mm.
and to be like, yeah, just quit that job, just
Oh God.
jump all in and just
No,
do that, and it's like it's either black or white.
it's not.
And it's
It's
like
gray.
it's always gray. It's always gray, and this is where my survival view comes in because I've jumped when I've been in transference environment. So one, I was like already in my transference environment, and I've jumped into survival view. Sorry, with my wanting transference view.
Right.
So I wasn't in proper survival, and what did happen? Lost my housing. I was broke. Been broke more than once because I have that repetitive pattern gate coming out of the spleen. And
Mm,
I think also my G center too. I have a
mm,
lot of repetitive pattern gates.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and it messed up my nervous system. And now I'm at a place where I probably am living life like a generator,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Mm,
It's okay because it's
mm.
not forever. It's not forever. And I need to embrace this version of me. So there is a version of me that is a hustler,
Mm,
and she's been the hustler since 12.
mm,
And there is that version of me that I need to love and embrace. And so this version of me is what's out right now. And is it ideal for a projector? No. Of course not. Of course not. But I know that. And I know about my open sacral. I know what that I don't know
but
when.
here's the question though, do you have the energy for what you're doing that you feel like it's almost like it sounds like to me you're moving some stuff right now. and it feels generator because you're being consistent with it, right? And you're using your energy.
Yeah.
Um, but if you recognize that right now you might just be borrowing some energy with awareness back, because that's what human design is. It is
Yeah.
simply just an awareness tool. And so if you let your mind say, all right, right now we have the baton, we are running with
Yeah.
the baton. I think non-sacrals, even projectors who would be considered the non-energy type, right? You still have every opportunity, if your authority is aligned to what you're doing, to be able to move. It's just
Yeah.
not going to last for
Exactly.
like a long time. But if you have
Exactly.
awareness that, oh my God, I do have, all of a sudden, I feel like a generator right now, because you are going to from time to time, because it could be the transits, it could be a connection to somebody in your environment, someone you just talked to, whatever. Borrow the energy. That is why we are collective beings. We are here to support each other. So if right now you feel like, all of a sudden I feel very sacral because I have all this energy and I'm doing all these things, as long as you don't feel you're doing it because you have to,
Yeah.
there's a very big difference. That if you're borrowing, like I'm constantly borrowing people's throat energy, okay? I got nothing up here, okay? I got nothing. And so I've learned how to borrow it. I borrow it from the only defined throat in our house is our little manifester. And I even ask him, I'm like, can I borrow your throat right now? And sometimes I joke and I'm like, I'm just going to breathe it in. Hold on. And I just like do that. He hates when I do that. But it's like we're constantly borrowing each other's energy. But if you're doing it with awareness, knowing that it's not going to last, because if it's just you have it, it's just going to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's also so much guilt
Yeah.
with the non-sacrals with that, oh my God, I'm doing some hard work right now or some heavy lifting.
Or it's like, or I shouldn't be.
Yeah. Or I
And
shouldn't be.
it's
Oh yeah.
I shouldn't be. And that's kind of like where I want to bring in these real talks, because it's like I feel sometimes, and again, it's what people are all going to put on social media, what they're going to put on. But I just feel that it's like people are making it very black and white.
Mm.
People are making it very much like, you're a projector. You can only work 4 to 6 hours a day. Like, if you don't get your rest, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, sleep alone, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's not linear. Life is not linear. Like, life in itself is like,
It's spiral.
it's a spiral, and we're always experimenting. And, do I love it when I have more time and space and I get to nap when I want? Yes, of course, I love that. I love that. But right now, where I'm at in my life and what I'm creating and what I'm building, I'm putting on all this borrowed sacral energy, and I'm just
Yeah.
getting it going. And it's
Yeah.
just I am aware, and it's been like happening since the beginning of summer. So it is going for a big stretch of time. But I know it's not forever. And I
Yeah.
know that I'm finding pockets in that where I'm hermiting and I'm finding slow time.
Yeah.
I'm finding these pockets where I'm like, okay, wait, how can I take care of my projector energy? And then also sometimes it'll happen. It's happened twice that I've got a cold and the universe is like, you're sick. Now we're going to
Yeah,
force
now
you
you
to
need to
chill.
really rest.
Now I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe you pushed it just a little too far, which is every non-sacral. It's
Well,
and like
I'm open sacral. Like, I don't even have a hanging date in my sacral, so I
yeah,
can't even, like, I don't even
yeah,
know when
yeah,
enough is enough. So I always
yeah.
so it's usually my spleen that talks to me. My spleen, like, I'll start feeling like a scratchy throat or something, and
Mm,
then I'm like, so the funny thing is, if I rest, when I feel my, like, the tiniest hint of a cold, if I rest, it goes away. If I
yeah,
keep going, I get sick.
interesting.
Every time, every time. So, yeah, so I got sick twice, but that's because I kept going. And I knew I was going. I was like, "I'm keep going. I can't stop. I'm going. Shit, I'm gonna get sick." And then I get sick and I was like, "Well, okay, now I'm forced to stop."
Exactly. Yeah. So, and like we also have to give ourselves grace when we have to learn those lessons.
Yes. Exactly, exactly. But it goes back to the survival view.
Okay, tell me,
I'm
because you
doing
found something though, right? You found something. Are you going to talk about you saw something online about it too?
no, so like what I'm saying with the survival view is that it's I have to get like my foundations in place. And so this thing of like jumping, like I'm one to jump. I'm a risk taker. Like I
Yeah.
have the Aries rising. I'm just like,
And our
let's
undefined
go.
spleen. You guys are the biggest risk takers I've ever seen. Every open or undefined spleen.
But jumping when the survival foundations are not there, which I've done,
Mm,
it doesn't work.
mm,
It doesn't work. And that's what I've come to realize. Doesn't work. And so now I am building my business and I have my second job. So there
mm,
is a lot
mm,
happening. But
mm.
it's because I've jumped so many times all in with my business without having those foundations. And my nervous system goes
Yeah.
out of whack. And it's going to a point I'm like, this is not healthy. Like I can't keep doing this. And so again, the patterns, right? Learning the patterns, learning the lessons. And so now it's like, okay, I'm going to have this second job that I am going to use it to cover my needs, cover my rent, cover
Cover
everything.
the basics. If that,
While
because you will not, the mind, because the mind is connected to our nodes and our
exactly,
trajectory. It's the beginning stages of moving upwards or staying exactly where you are, your comfort zone in your south node. And so you can't see if your mind is saying, how am I going to pay my bills? Survival. How am I going to live? Survival.
oh,
Do I have a house to live in? Survival. And if you can't answer yes, if the mind can't answer yes to those questions, it's never, as a survival view, going to give you what you want.
exactly. And then if you look at the nodes, so my north node is Pisces, which is
And we're
tapping
going to read
into
yours in a second. Go ahead.
but it's like Pisces in my 12th house. So it's tapping into my intuition, doing, like kind of doing life instead of like a logical way, which was the Virgo, which is my south node in the
Yep.
sixth house.
Yep.
It's doing things in an intuitive way. So here's a
Okay.
funny thing.
Okay.
Lilith is also in my south node in Virgo. Sorry, it's also in Virgo in my sixth house.
They're sitting together.
They're sitting there together. Okay. So he was like the big conundrum, right? Because it's like Lilith, it's like loving that shadow part.
Mm,
So it's like that, like having holding that space for that south node and loving that. But then
mhm.
it's like I still got to move to the north node in this lifetime. So here's
Yeah.
how I'm doing it. My north node, I'm tapping that in with my business.
Mm.
I'm doing my business all intuitive. It's always been intuitive, like because the logical way never worked for me. It's just never.
And it's also the comfort zone. Your south node is your comfort zone. Now there is a gift there that that is meant to be taken with you into your north node, but
Exactly.
you can't stay there. You're never
No,
going to evolve. And some
exactly.
people do.
Yeah. So my business my business, like my relationship, my day to day is like I'm moving that towards that north node. Very intuitive, very like, let's do the things that don't make sense. But then the
Yes.
south node is my second job.
Yeah, because if you don't build South Node's also the foundation, right? If you
Exactly.
don't build the foundation that's already there, because the South Node says we've done this before, right? We've been in
Exactly.
Kabbalah, they say that you so in Kabbalah, and let's read what your little because this is also for anybody that's about to enter into their nodal return. Okay.
Right. Yes.
Kabbalah says that your South Node was your sun sign, your last life.
Oh,
So
interesting. So
so for
Virgo.
you, you were a Virgo. For
Mm,
me, I was a Scorpio.
interesting.
And it makes perfect sense. And like you were going, what I'm about to read to you is what you experienced in a past life. So for everybody that has Virgo South Node right now, Pisces North Node, this is for you, what I'm about to read that's going to help transform your life. And I'll tell you, if you want the actual details on how to achieve this, because your nodal return, I just went through it, okay?
Right.
Your nodal return is the biggest quantum leap that you could possibly take. Okay? And I knew the exact time frame that mine was going to take place, and I'll tell you that's when I took off in my business. Was
Oh, interesting.
during that time because I used my Tikkun, I used my astrology, I used my gates in my notes, and my view. I put it all together and I'm like, here's the ingredients, little kitchens. Okay. Now transform. And I did.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that awareness, I would have never made those power moves that I made to get to what helped me create the momentum in my business that I was seeking. So this is for you,
Let's read this.
Julie.
Oh,
And
thank you.
for anybody else, this is called your Tikkun. Okay, this is the correction you've come to make this life from your past Virgo self. Okay, so if you have a Tikkun or a correction in Pisces, if you are a Pisces North Node, okay, the Tikkun in Pisces deals with mainly with the conscious perception of another dimension. Okay. Think about Pisces. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Okay. It is the ruler of the 12th house, the illusion, the spiritual underworld, what's hidden, what we can't see. And guess who has almost every planet in their 12th house, including their sun? Me. Okay. So I see a huge opportunity when these nodes shift because all of a sudden my little sun is going to shine very, very bright. And so I'm waiting. Okay. I am just waiting for this moment. Okay. So your previous life, you were a Virgo. Okay. And this has left you with an inability to detach yourself from logic. You think and live in a reasonable world. Though this shows you other viewpoints. In your previous incarnation, you could not see the forest for the trees. Also, think about this, Julie. Both of your nodal gates are in the head.
Mhm.
And so, for you, in order for you to actually move forward, you need to be able to be inspired by what the logic is trying to tell you to do so that you can actually evolve and transform that with that Pisces energy and make momentum and move it forward. You have gate 64 in your south node, right? Before completion. And then you have gate 63 after completion in your north node. So there needs to be it's like in order for you to move forward, that 64 is saying we've got to reflect on this. Okay. We've got to know what just happened, where were the cracks in the foundation. I'm survival view. If I'm ever going to move forward, I need to be looking up here and looking at what wasn't working the last time with that 64 in order for that 63 to say, all right, I've got you. I'm going to hold you. I'm going to help you get to where you're going, because the 63 is actually a channel for you.
Yeah.
So that's actually very powerful and positive. I've noticed for clients or for people in the intensive that their gates are connected to full channels in their variables. Those are the places that they actually can move
Yeah. Which
because you
makes sense
have the
with
full
everything I'm doing
connected.
now. But this
Yeah.
makes sense because I was like jumping before, jumping all in my business didn't work.
Yeah,
There was
because you
cracks.
weren't actually allowing yourself to marinate, figure it out, like use that mental energy in a positive way. Where now I think you're using it in a positive way because you know there's actually a better way to do it.
Exactly. And then it's like using it. And then when you're saying like it's kind of like I'm using the mind, even though I'm, like I'm moving away from the logical, but I'm still using the mind. And
Mhm.
it's very much
But it's
of like,
open more now.
yes, but it's like, okay, what is possible? What is available? What is
What is
like
available? Mhm.
what is like, what is the thing that I'm not seeing, or what is the thing that, like, yes, I desire a certain way for my business to look
Mhm.
like, but what if it looked completely different and I love it?
Mm. Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it? What if the thing
What if
that who knows? And I think that's where I'm tapping into that Pisces North Node, because I'm like, just universe, show me.
you're just allowing the flow? Because I feel Pisces, it's water. It wants
Exactly.
to just move with freedom. Pisces does not like restriction,
No.
okay? It's there like there's nothing, it's Neptunian.
Yes.
That like you have to allow for things to just naturally fall with it. But there needs to be a little bit of order to get there. And that's why I
Exactly.
said there's a gift that's in your Virgo South Node that you can move. I didn't know we were doing a nodal episode here, but here we are.
Here we are.
I want to finish reading though. So, back to the goods. Okay. So, though this life shows you other viewpoints, in your previous incarnation, you could not see the forest for the trees. You were absorbed in an intricate rationalization that, although right in the beginning, did not satisfy you in the end because you saw only one side of the picture, the physical one. All South Node Virgos are only looking at one side of the picture. Okay. Pisces is saying there's more to the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Your concern for details turns you into a fussy person. Having fallen into excessive organizing,
Oh my god.
you lost all trace of spontaneity. This leftover Virgo behavior has also led to difficulties and disagreements in your sexual life. Your unwillingness to get emotionally involved, coupled with your fear of not being able to control a relationship, led you to forbid yourself emotional outbursts of any kind.
Mhm.
Very rigid in your way of thinking, you were incapable of listening and learning from others. By demanding fact, factual perfection in your previous life, you made your tasks more difficult than it would otherwise have been. You aimed too high and lost your self confidence. In your efforts to understand and master your own life, everything was compartmentalized and labeled according to strict rules. But an existence does not conform to Descartes. I don't know if anybody knows what that means, but having fragmented your previous life, you are now stuck with the problem of how to put the pieces back together in this one. Oh, I like that. Having fragmented your previous life, you are now stuck with the problem of how to put the pieces back together in this one. So here's
Yeah.
the Tikkun. This is the gift I'm giving, okay?
Yeah.
So
No.
the Tikkun in Pisces suggests that you must first understand that you cannot perceive the essence of truth through your senses. And what's interesting in yours is feeling.
Mhm.
So, but that as a spiritual reality is the origin of everything physical because it's telling you to allow yourself to almost like like release the body, that we are bigger than our body. You are bigger than your body, okay, as a Pisces North Node. So give up analyzing the effect and you will perceive the cause. Abandoning your need for logical explanations will enable you to erase the doubts that have been plagued you for so long. Along this path, you will gain an image of the world that goes beyond the senses and opens the door to a more spiritual level of consciousness. And
Mm.
that is what we are all moving towards, what the collective experience is going to be. But if you are actually on the axis, these are your nodes: Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node. You have huge. When I say, oh God, I could talk about this forever. You have I'm just like I get so passionate about it also because it changed my life during those couple of years. Um, the opportunity for you is beyond the mind's comprehension right now.
Yeah.
I will never be able to put into words other than if I worked with you directly on how much you can actually achieve. If you are a Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node, and you are not coming into the color code variables intensive, I don't know what you're doing with your life because
I
because
love
we
the
like
ego is coming in right now.
I don't care. It doesn't bother
I
me because it's true. It's all I'm only going to say it if it's true. Because we're starting this intensive right after these nodes basically end. The current nodes that we're sitting in right now, which is
yeah,
Libra South node, Aries North node. So
yeah,
we're moving, we're starting this after the last eclipse of this. So the momentum I'm saying for the Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node people is monumentous, like of what you can do because we're going to be talking about this in the
yeah.
intensive. So where was I? One last thing. So here you can experience emotions that will help you change your perception of others by judging them less because there's also a lot of judgment up there in the head, right? So and also Virgos. Virgos are one of the most judgiest of all signs. No offense, my Virgos, I love you. Okay, my husband's a Virgo. I'm not saying anything nasty. I'm just saying it's true. Okay, you're critical, but you need to be critical because you actually know a better way. It's logical, right? So this will ignite within you a love for your fellow beings and reinforce your compassion. In this way, you will learn how to act on two levels. You can live in the present while looking into the future. Acting in the moment to serve a universal mission in which you have faith is the key to achieving a true rebirth and attaining universal consciousness.
Yeah,
That is
I
your
feel
goal.
but that's literally G center throat center and my gates and channels.
Yeah.
Gate 10 channel 1020, right? The gate of now, like the gate of the
Mhm.
present, right? And then all like, well, because I don't, the only G center gate I don't have is a gate of
Oh my
love,
God. It's the one that
love of
I have,
body.
the love of the body. So right
Yeah,
now they're all activated as we're talking.
yeah. But then I have all the other ones, which is like, it's
I
just so
cannot believe
interesting.
how like if you guys could see Julie's chart right now, she has every single gate in the G center activated except for gate 46.
Yeah,
It's I didn't even like think about that until you were talking about it and I was like, wow, that is like you are a powerhouse sitting right there to provide the direction for people that they actually need. And the G center, if you actually combine your G center gates, I think we've talked about this too, but if not, I highly recommend doing it. But combine your G centered gates mixed with your nodes because the G center is connected to your environment. You could
yeah,
actually create real movement in your life because the G is what is that little thread that's kind of like carrying us along this material plane in gate 2. Gate 2 is the driver if you guys didn't know. And so if we can use our G center mixed with our environment nodes, okay, you can create real change in your life and that's what brought me to my correct environment
yeah.
was using that.
Well, they like that my sun is gate one, and then my earth is gate two.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
it's, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's like the whole thing.
and
Like
you're
that's
the
why I
cross of
love.
the Sphinx.
Yeah, yeah. And that is basically, what's funny when I found out about my incarnation cross, it was the biggest like they're like, yeah, just focus on you. And I was like, well, I was told my whole life I'm selfish. And I had to like really like shift that and be like, no, wait, this is what I'm meant to do.
Well, you
And
provide the direction for others, but first you have to start with you.
exactly,
And it's like
exactly.
you're like kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
the little bowling ball that just like my mom was also the Sphinx. My
Yeah.
mom's a 2-4 emotional manifesting generator. And she has that in an open G.
Wow. That's cool.
So it's really interesting. She doesn't even know the direction that she's providing for others.
That's awesome though.
It's like
That's
accidental. Like she
yeah.
named me Crystal, which
Interesting.
and my Hebrew name is Ora, which means light and aura, like
Yeah.
literally helping people now understand their aura. Like it's just like she basically had me set up from birth that this is what I was going to do
Wow.
without like knowing what was actually like it was just all leading me till now. It's just
Wow.
wild. Whenever you I
Okay.
love Sphinx people because I always know when I'm in your presence that I'm probably gonna go in a really amazing direction if I'm in a with a healthy one. If it's an
Yeah.
unhealthy one, I'm gonna run away because I don't I don't need to be deterred any more than I've already allowed myself
Yeah. Well,
in
it's
my
the
life.
same thing with like Scorpios, right? Like you have like, like healed Scorpios and
Oh,
wounded
yeah.
Scorpios and
Very
wounded
they're very
Scorpios.
different people. Very, very different people.
Very, yeah. Like I know my shadow self and the thoughts that come in. And I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh,
Yeah, it's alright.
okay,
We
well,
all we all got them. We all got
yeah,
them. So if
exactly.
you could tell a projector, let's close out with this. If you could tell a
Okay.
projector one thing about their aura that they should know, what would that be? That's a question I've asked every type since they've come on. I want to know what you would tell them.
About the
Yeah. Or what they need to know with being a projector. What would be the number one?
You don't need to sit and wait for an invitation.
Mm,
Don't use that as a way to put yourself in a box.
mm,
Because if I did that, I would have not been doing the in-person human design workshops
mm.
I've been doing for the past year. Because I went on a walk, and I'm going to share this quick story
Yes,
with it.
please. Please. Oh, and also your active body. So great. You were on a walk. Go
I was
ahead.
on a walk with a friend who's also Scorpio.
Mm,
So love that energy, but she's a generator. And I
mm,
was like, this was last year, and I was like walking with her, and I was like, like it would be really cool, like to do like bring human design workshops in person. Like I feel like everything's done online. I want to really bring them in. But I was like, oh well, but I haven't received like any signs or invitations from the
mm,
universe. And she knows a little bit about human design, but not much. And she was
mm.
like, are you using that as an excuse to just like not do it? And I was like, yeah, maybe.
Because
And
you're talking but listen, you were actually using your authority
yeah,
because you were talking it out as every self projector should do. Can you also say a little bit about that for a second? How important it is as a self projector to actually be able to voice out your desires, to voice out um, what's on your mind or whatever's coming up for you that you need to speak it out.
yeah. You gotta talk. You gotta talk. Talk to yourself. Talk voice notes. Find a friend. Talk, 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 talk. Find a coach who would ask you, or a therapist who asks you questions, not one that speaks the entire time. Like it's so important for us to talk, because it also, if you do have a defined head and ajna like I do, or one
Mhm,
or the other, the
mhm,
talking like empties that. Like it really like, and then you get the clarity. But then also, if you do find someone you trust that to like kind of soundboard to, ask them to pay attention to what you're saying,
yeah,
or
the
record
tone and the
yourself and
tone.
listen, because you got to listen to your tone. Or sometimes you might say something but you don't catch what you
Mm,
say, so you have somebody else who like catches that for you, and they're like, wait a second, wait, what did you just say? And to listen to the tone, because I know like when I'm excited about something, like I'm like and
yeah,
then when
and
I
it
don't
sounds
want to.
like you were that way when you were talking to your friend, right? And she
Yeah,
noticed.
exactly. And
She
she was just
recognized
like,
that.
yeah, and she was just like, "Wait, like, are you using that as an excuse?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I actually am." And she's like, "Don't put yourself in a box just because human design said so."
Mm,
And I reached out to a yoga studio, and I was like, "I have this idea." I already knew the owner from
oh,
previous
good.
connection,
4th
and I
line.
was like, yeah. And I was like, I have this idea. What do you think? And she was like, I would love it, blah, blah, blah. And I've done already 5 workshops there. Sorry, now 6.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a 7th one coming up. So, yeah, 4 intro to human design, and then 1 part 2. Sorry, 5 intro to human design, and then 1 part 2.
And
And
what
I don't
area
know,
is this in case there happens to be anybody listening?
Whistler.
Whistler?
Whistler, British Columbia, Canada. So if anybody finds himself in Whistler, yeah, let me know. Like, you don't have to be a local. Like, if you're visiting, if you're coming to
Yeah.
Whistler to like ski this winter, like, let me know, and maybe there'll be a human design workshop in town. So, and it's a beautiful space too. So it's a nice yoga studio, which is
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think
awesome.
that's really important. You actually were one of my inspirations to to finally step out and share this in my actual environment because that's why I moved here was to actually start like cuz I we're on top of crystals right now. It feels very kitchens, okay? And we're sitting on top of these mountains that are crystals and I
Same
feel
with
like
Whistler.
yeah, I feel like if I can raise the vibration of this area, it's going to pour out to to everywhere else. That's just my
Yes.
weird intuition. And
Yeah.
so after hearing how successful you were at doing it, I was like, well, maybe like I responded. I was like, maybe it's time for me to come offline a little bit because most of my business is
Well,
online. And so, but
well,
it was the same for me that the place that I share this important information at, it has to be right. The environment, it has to
has to
feel
be.
kitchens to me. And there's some sort of spiritual high vibration. I don't know if like there was what the grounds originally were. I'd be so curious to know.
Mhm.
Because there is this special energy. If you're also in Hendersonville or Asheville, North Carolina, check out Horseshoe Farm Spa and Resort. Okay. They have everything. I do
Yeah.
human design classes there. I do moon circles there. They have massage there. They have other types of sessions you can get there. There's lodging there. You can stay on the property. I hope to one day do a retreat there because they're all set up for it. And but I went there to get a massage, and then I went for a class one time and then talked to the person afterwards, and I'm like, "I don't know what it is, but there's some weird energy here." And even I took my husband because they also have a restaurant on the property, Silo's Cookhouse. Definitely go check it out if you're in I'm like just advertising for everybody right now. Um, my 4426 cannot help itself. But go check out Silo's Cookhouse if you are in Hendersonville, Horseshoe area because that food is phenomenal. They actually grow most of their own vegetables and then get local farms resource for everything else and like the meat and all that stuff. So definitely go check it out. But I brought my husband there for his little Virgo birthday last weekend and he said the same thing. And he is not that kind of person. He's not into that stuff. And
Wow.
he's like, there's something on this property. And so if you're looking
Love it.
for human design classes and you're local to the Henderson Asheville area, or you want to join me for a moon circle, I'm your girl because I'm ready to take this to the next level. I was just talking to the manager who's a manifester. Hopefully I'm getting her on the podcast too about that, and she knows how much I want to really, and she's into human design too, bring this energy into
Yeah.
the local area. So I'm very excited about it. But you definitely were your desire motivation
Oh.
really led me, and also I guess your G center
Hey.
really
Well,
led me
again, it's
into
well, that's
taking that
my
chance.
incarnation cross, right?
Mhm.
Right there. Like, if anybody's listening, I'm like, this is a pure example. The thing is that I don't see it as a projector, and I
Mhm.
want to see it more. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
love that you said that, and like, I really appreciate that you did say that that was a motivator
it
because
was.
I don't see these things. Like, and it's like sometimes people tell me, sometimes they don't, and like I just do my thing, and by doing my thing is what inspires people around me. So that's kind of
Exactly.
yeah.
I don't think Sphinx people and also projectors in general realize how much just like you being you, especially
Yeah.
self-projected, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because everything for you, everything about your design specifically, and actually also my design, so maybe that's why we work well together, but it's all heart led.
Yeah.
It is all heart led. I mean, my
Oh wow.
sacral is connected to my G center.
Yeah.
I say that if my heart is not in it, if I can't rise to meet it, it's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I know immediately. I
Mhm.
didn't used
Yeah.
to listen to that. I would just do it anyways. But if my heart, and I'm also ego, so I have got a lot of heart. So
You do have a lot of her.
so and I'm a vessel of love. So it's just like you're the other side of me. You're
Yeah,
the sphinx to my vessel of love because both of
I
our
love that.
incarnation crosses are sitting in the G center. So
Yeah, I love that.
I
I
think
love
this
that.
was a very inspirational episode.
It
So
was actually, yeah, it was like
I didn't know where we were gonna go.
me neither.
A few talking points, obviously variable focus, and I really wanted to bring in your projector energy to it so that also projectors can feel emboldened and inspired to take the next step and that you don't need a direct invitation. Maybe it's from
Um,
the universe. Maybe it's
exactly,
internal, and maybe you just need to bring it to the forefront for you. It was your voice. Bring it to the forefront, put it out there to the universe, and then it happens.
yeah. Or it's kind of like apply for the job you want, or send out like that email. Like
Mhm.
if it's a no, then it's a no, and
No.
that's it, right?
It
Like
doesn't
it's
mean that you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you
exactly,
didn't follow your authority. I think we think that if we do all the right things, that then that's when it's going to work out. Sometimes it's that you had to take that step to get that door to close in your face
yeah,
for what actually is meant to happen is the next door was supposed to open after that. But that was this first step you had to take to get there.
exactly,
So I
exactly.
see this all
I love
differently
it.
now, but I'm in
Yes,
7 years now, so it's a very different view that I have than I used to have. I don't know,
I'm
there's so
four,
much nuance in
four,
you're
but I'm
4.
on the cusp of five.
Mm,
So
yes,
that,
you're
that so I'm excited. I'm excited. Like
yeah,
four has been very like community, building that
yes,
community,
you are
networking.
going through the lines. Also
Yeah,
that, let's end on that. You're going through the lines of your human design experiment. So, for example, Julie is in her 4th year, so she's been operating through the 4th line of networking,
yeah,
okay, and connection. And like really achievement up on that upper triagram, right?
yeah,
Then working towards the universalization of what that's going to be when she gets to the 5th year.
yeah.
Yeah,
Curious to see fifth
yeah,
year with my nodal return.
yeah, I'm back on the first line because I'm in my 7th year.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, it starts, then
interesting.
it just starts over. And so yeah, and it makes sense as to why I did what I did too. You know what I
Yeah,
did? Because I'm rebuilding the foundation again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
So,
that.
let everybody know how they can connect with you because I know people are gonna wanna connect with you
Yes,
after this.
yes. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, Julie's Unknown, and website is juliesunknown.com. Yeah, just find me on Instagram. That's where you'll see everything that's like kind of happening. I don't know when this episode is going to air, but I am not only doing stuff in person, but I'm slowly bringing back things on the online space. I took a little break, but I
Mhm.
tend to work in extremes, and that's one of my
Well, you
G center
have day
great.
15 in your unconscious
Yeah.
Venus, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, I'm in the online world, and I was like, fuck the online world, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Back.
let's find the balance. I'm
Yeah,
back.
the Libra moon.
So exactly, exactly. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and then that's where I share like the upcoming events. So I am kind of coming back in the online world. Um, Again, open into invitations. People tend to like sometimes come in my DMs and they ask me guidance for something that I wouldn't think of, but I could
Hmm,
guide them with. So
hmm.
I'm, always open to you see something and you're like, I want to learn from you, or I want you to give me direction in this. If it feels right for me, a fit for my self projectedness, then we go for it.
Yeah,
And so very open. And I think that's also the
that's also the
Pisces
Pisces North Node.
North Node.
Yeah. Wow. We
So
had like a
thank
whole
you.
session here.
I know. I love this. I
It
love
it
this.
went in
I
a
love
lot of
this.
different directions, but
It really did.
I loved it. So,
I
thank
loved
you so
it.
much for joining me, and also
Thank
thank
you.
you, if you're listening or watching this episode for joining me, give me a big thumbs up on YouTube. Go check
Yay.
out everything in the,
Show
description down
notes.
below,
Yeah.
and I will see you over on the next one. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.